Presented by Meineke. We are the show for the thinking fan. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Brian Kenny. Busy show. Dodgers general manager Brandon Gomes will join us in a moment. Former big-time relief pitcher, defending champs up 8.5 in the NL West, getting their deep rotation back together, but trying to avoid a sweep against the Braves later today. Brandon Gomes in just a moment. Also joining us, Red Sox hitting coach John Soteropoulos. He was one of the coaches promoted when those firings happened in Boston. The Red Sox, a huge comeback, how that happened. And Rob Parker in the showdown. By the way, the NFL just quit on their Pro Bowl. No more All-Star game. What that means for baseball, if anything. Dan O'Dowd, Yonder Alonso on the panel. We'll have our baseball he plays as well. But first, marquee matchup in the National League. The Braves taking another one-run game against the Dodgers last night. Ha-Seong Kim having a rough year, but that's a big hit in the ninth off Tanner Scott. Braves beat the Dodgers 6-5. Both games in the series won by one run. Braves look for a sweep tonight. They're a good ball club, and it's an elite matchup. Yoshi Yamamoto and Chris Sale. This is high-level stuff. Sale, 37 years old, 16-year veteran. He's got a finishing kick in him, Hall of Fame career in the making. Yamamoto, 27 years old. He's the ultimate winner. Big boy baseball. Sale, best ERA in the game over the last 2 years. Yamamoto is fifth, but that doesn't count the 2.25 ERA in the playoffs, where he has basically personally driven the Dodgers to 2 World Series titles. That game, by the way, a little after 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. With that, front office insights are presented by Sage. We welcome in the general manager for the 2-time defending World Series champion Dodgers. They lead the NL West by 8.5. Brandon Gomes is back with us now. Brandon, it's Brian Kenny. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, BK.
I'm always characterizing your season and your roster and where you guys are at. How would you characterize, it's your club, your season?
Yeah, I think, you look at our overall record, we're in a good place right now. I think the biggest thing is as we continue to get our team back and our pitching back in a good place that, somewhat similar to last year. Hopefully we really play strong baseball down the stretch that helps us carry into a deep October run. So I think overall solid, but probably not as good as we're capable of playing as of now.
Right. It seems like you guys could be bigger and badder, actually. Roki Sasaki, blister last night. How is he? What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see how he comes in today and kind of reevaluate. But, the blister things are funky because you never know how much it's going to affect things. And obviously being, the very last thing that's touching the ball, it can really hurt command. So we'll see how he comes in today and then continue to evaluate from there. I
know you're ramping back up Shohei Ohtani to pitch. I'm just wondering now, if you're looking ahead, how would you utilize or how are you planning to use Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is taking it, day by day, outing by outing with Show. I think, we try to put normal pitching parameters around him, and I think it's quite foolish. So we have to, talk to him, continue to communicate because there is nobody else doing what he's doing. So kind of see how he's feeling and progressing. And then anything that we can get from him is additive, and then to go along with what we feel like is a really strong starting staff, pitching staff in general around him. So, we'll see what the next couple of weeks hold and then go from there.
All right. He was so good, part of it too. Is it, given that he is hitting, would you stay away from him pitching late in games, say you have limited innings, would be more of an opener rather than toward the back end, or is the back end open too?
I think ideally it's always going to be on the front end. That way you don't have to mess around with the DH and get into complicated situations like that. So ideally that's it. I think we're, as you get deeper in the postseason, hopefully if things come up, we know that Shohei will do anything to help us win. So if that's the case and we have to do it, then it's on the table, I'm sure. But certainly far from ideal.
Okay. Edwin Diaz is on the IL, had surgery, clearly struggling. Where is he? When is he coming back?
He's been working really hard with our pitching group, Mark and Connor McGinnis, to get his delivery back in play. Dealt with the trapped nerve thing coming out of Colorado. So he's feeling good physically and, working hard on his delivery, getting the consistency of his slider back. So he's in a good place. We'll get him another bullpen probably this weekend and live BPs and then go from there.
Okay, so you're very specific there. Delivery, slider. All right, good. So your club is state-of-the-art in game planning and performance maximizing. You guys are very good at it. So now you have Diaz, who's coming back. He's great. Kyle Tucker, high-level player. He was great. He's struggling. How do you approach a guy who is clearly struggling like you have Kyle Tucker now?
Yeah, I think it's, showing them, hey, here's what we feel like is going on right now. What are your thoughts? Because obviously there's a feel versus a real thing, and something that has worked in the past may not be the case now, or we can go and use a cue from earlier in their career. So I think it's kind of showing them the differences that we see, getting their thoughts on how they want to work through it, and then try to present solutions and be very solution based on trying to get guys back on track and really get into their true talent level. Because I think with both of these guys, both Diaz and Tuck, we're not there, but we know there's still great players in there.
Right. Brandon, we had Joe Madden on. We have him on every week, right? So we had Joe. You smile. Good. Because we had Joe on and said, what do? You have a guy who's so talented, struggling. He almost said, it's almost like a Rocky movie. He goes, I want to go back to his high school coach, his Legion coach, whoever it is. Like, have him running in the snow again. Like, how does a guy fight? Like, how do you bifurcate that between, performance maximizing and just, emotional, spiritual confidence?
Yeah, I think that's, coaching is an art. And I think that's, incumbent upon our guys to get in there and continue to try to find different ways to get through to the player. And, Joe and our staff, are similar in the ways like they're going to keep it really positive and make sure that you feel like a world beater when you get out there, because you can't have any self-doubt, whether it's in the box or on the mound. So I think a lot of it is like, hey, let's work on some mechanics, let's work on these things. But when you get out there, go compete and know that you're one of the best in the game. And I think that's, the best thing that you can do for players.
Right. I just love that. Find his high school coach. Find his junior high coach. Get Little League there. Mookie Betts, all right? He's a superstar. He made a great play again last night. Team guy. Any thought that playing shortstop, it's a demanding position? I've asked this from the very start, Brandon, but that affects his offense.
No, I don't think so. I think, what I think with Mook is, we kind of saw the weight loss last year, and we've seen flashes of Mookie being great in the box this year. I do think in general, shortstop is going to be taxing, but I think this guy puts in the work to have his body go through it and be able to handle it. So I think, a change of position is not why you're seeing a slight downtick in what Mookie's capable of. And I think he's continuing to show what's in there, and right around the same time last year, he really picked it up. So we're expecting that as well this year.
Fair enough. I can think differently, but I'm watching him, the little clip that we showed, like defensively. He's so smart. He will get it done. Whatever needs to get done, he figures out and he'll do clutch plays, understanding. Like, he's amazing. I have to ask you this too. Dodger ownership put out a statement yesterday. The club's not for sale. They put that out. But many in baseball wondering, are these ownership issues affecting the team?
Yeah, I mean, I feel confident that there's no issue in a day-to-day thing with our team. So that's not something that's affecting the club at all.
It's not affecting your day-to-day. There's no brush with you.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, fair enough. Tarek Skubal, your thoughts on him coming to you? And I've said it, he's been quite good. He's borderline great. You expect great. How do you go to a guy who's that established and try to maximize?
I think it's really fun getting to be around Tarek and watching how he goes about his business. It is incredibly methodical. He's an amazing worker, awesome clubhouse presence. And, watching him work in the pen, it's like very thoughtful, short, to the point, like executing what he needs to execute, and then it's done. And there's no, no wasted time on the mound, no inefficient throws. It's just go out there, get your work in, and then trust. I think he's a guy that's fun to watch because he's really trusting the work that he puts in the process that goes into it, and just letting his compete and talent take over when he gets on the mound.
All right, one last thing. As a two-time champion, looking to make it 3, and that's very rare in this game, where is it on the scale of it's fun, it's a blast, and it's more difficult than you imagine? What is it like?
Yeah, I think it's a day-to-day. It's always fun. Now, the definition of fun can change, but the nightly stakes are what is so will bring so much enjoyment to the role. As a former player, that's what you're doing. You're playing because you love to compete and you love the adrenaline rush. And, you know, there's an adrenaline rush that comes with getting walked off too, unfortunately. And we're all probably a little sick in the head with that. But, you know, the obsession as an organization, our players, our coaches, front office, with being great and continuing to try to, you know, maximize our players and be as good as we can nightly. We have really high expectations, and with that can come highs and lows. But it is, the nightly stakes are really fun, you know, and winning's more fun than losing. So, yeah, that's kind of where you end up.
All right. Have you written a book yet? You haven't written a book yet, right?
No, absolutely not.
I have a title for your book. The definition of fun can change. Right.
Yes,
That's Dan O'Dowd. Dan is cracking up right now. 15 years as a general manager. You realize that too, right? Oh, it's fun, kids. The definition of fun can change. That is tremendous. Brandon, again, terrific always watching your club, your class organization. Good luck rest of the way.
Thanks, BK. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Brandon Gomes there. Again, played the game at the highest level. Now the general manager of the two-time defending champs. And tomorrow on MLB Network, Tarek Skubal's first start against his old team, the Detroit Tigers, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, a little earlier than most. You can see it live right here on MLB Network. It's our showcase game. Yonder Alonso is here. Dan O'Dowd is here. Whew, it's a lot in there. There was a lot in there.
I'm exhausted for you.
There's a lot. How funny is that?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'll just say, because we've had general managers on here, and you're like, man, it must be fun. It must be such a blast. And they're like, it's agonizing. It's painful. They're like, no, dude, I thought the job was fun.
I call it a miserable joy.
There you go. You got there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a miserable joy. And, you know, the one thing about it is that, for me, the losses were harder to shake off than enjoying the wins. I don't know if this just do it over a long period of time. But the tough losses they stay with you longer than the great wins, for whatever the human dynamics of that is.
I've had many fighters who become world champions, and they say, and it's like the cliche, but it's like, it's hard being on top. You think it's going to be great, everything's easy. It's harder when you're on top.
I think your training and the way you're such a competitor, you're always thinking about what's the right thing. When you're winning, when you're doing all the right things, that's what you play the game for. That's why you prepare. When you're losing, the reason we take it so tough is because that's not what is expected. That's not your thought process.
Right.
The thought process was always to win. Be on the positive side, never the negative side. Look, I think being a GM is just like being a manager, or you know, I wouldn't go as being a player, but it's like owning a boat. Your first day is your happiest. Your last is your second happiest. Because anything in between that, it's all a nightmare.
That's not completely true. But anyway, I'm not saying that. What's your view of the club now? Because I've maintained this is the best roster of the Andrew Friedman run, which is saying, look at how jacked they are in their starting pitching. If they ever got everybody back, which they're close to now, and yet you judge their performance this year.
I think this team, as much as we're talking about the bullpen struggles, I don't think it's the most important thing that they're struggling on. I think for me, the bullpen will get handled with the starting rotation. I think their answers are with their starting rotation.
They'll augment,
Exactly, like what they did in the last postseason, right? I would think Sheehan, Sasaki, Wroblewski, Glasnow, any of those guys can answer a role.
They have all-star start. It's an all-star starter who can do long relief now. That's how jacked they are.
But I think for me, the biggest issue that we have to talk about here is their offense. And I just think that there's this hole that we've been seeing this year. I don't know if it's fatigueness. I don't know if they're just, you know, kind of the long days of summer in August. But right now you're looking at all these players and they're not producing. You're looking at Freddie Freeman. He hasn't homered in 42 games. Mookie Betts, he's slugging 346. Kyle Tucker, he's been what everybody thought was going to be the guy that was going to kind of take that load in the depth. He hasn't done anything as well. Teoscar Hernandez has had a very down year. But all those guys have one thing in common. They don't hit fastball. They don't hit velocity. They haven't done it in August. And every month it goes down more and more and more. For me, it's a simple fix. Hit the fastball. That's what they're good at. That's what they've been good at.
Is that part of the aging process?
But
are they
perhaps
aging?
It could be. I just think for me, when I look at this and when I look at a team like this in the postseason, you're going to be facing high-end arms, high-end velocity, a lot of whiff with this Dodgers team. They can hit the long ball. But these things are the ones that scare me a lot more than what the bullpen struggles have been.
Fair enough. Dan?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything Yonder said. I want to give the Dodgers credit, though. This is the most unselfish group of great players that you see year in, year out.
Said.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they sustain being in this position. Most clubs don't even make it to this point because the success of the previous years eats them alive internally.
Yeah.
They've got a great culture there, a really incredible culture. I think fatigue is real in our game. I don't think it's just physical fatigue. I think it's the mental fatigue of playing, big moments, pressure situation. They won 7 games last year. It's just the grind. The baseball season for me is the hardest sport to play because of the grind you go through over a long period of time. They've had short off seasons. They're getting a little older. And as Yonder said, I thought Tucker was signed to take away some of the pressure there because he's 29 years old in the prime of his career. He just had a bad reason. No need to dig into that. But I will tell you, these last 2 games against the Braves shows you how close all the teams are and how the margins are so slim between winning and losing.
Yeah, the roster is so deep as they get everybody. It just reminds me of something. It was like whenever the Joe Torre Yankees, right, that dynasty, no matter who they brought in at any point, he was absorbed into the Yankees. You know what I mean? And there was no issues. Suddenly, there was no hey, I'm my own guy. Reggie Jackson back in the 70s was tumultuous. Every star that went to New York, nope, you're absorbed into Jeter, Bernie, Yankee. The Dodgers are.
We're seeing it with Alec Thomas, right? He goes from Arizona, now he goes to the Dodgers, and he's like, man, this is incredible. This is the reason why you guys win. Now I get it.
And you have these superstar guys, right, who are good guys, who you play, that nobody complains, the egos are low, everything else. All right, we'll take a short break. We're asking you, the thinking fan, about the Dodgers, where they were. Again, I think, roster-wise, the most impressive team. Maybe they won 111 a couple of years back. They didn't win the World Series that year. So is this year's Dodgers team better than last year's World Series championship team? At MLB Now, we're on X. Let us know when we come back.